Everybody would love honesty in the process, so it's a business, so I totally understand. No hard feelings, but now's the time where I've been trying to grow personally, spiritually as a quarterback. So I mean, I've grown a lot these past few weeks.
The Chicago Bears have a pretty big decision to make in the next 2 months, and in my opinion, I don't think it's that hard of a decision to make. But welcome to the channel. If you are new here, consider subscribing and dropping a like on the video if you do enjoy it. We are on the road to 5,000 subscribers, so if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. But it's been a rough couple of years now for the Chicago Bears after going 6-11 in 2021 and then 3-14 this past season. Going into this season, I didn't have huge expectations for the Bears or expect them to make some playoff appearance or be a very scary team this year. I viewed the roster of this team and really saw them in rebuild mode, especially with the new head coach coming in from the defensive coordinator spot from the Colts and Matt Eberflus, a new general manager to work with him, Ryan Poles, who is the Chiefs executive of player personnel. So in my eyes, I think the Bears did exactly what I thought they were going to do this past season, getting rid of a lot of key veterans on that defense such as Danny Trevathan, Robert Quinn, trading away Khalil Mack before the season even began, and then middle of the season trading away Roquan Smith for a 2nd and 5th round pick to the Baltimore Ravens. So although the Bears did not come out and say it, I think their plan this year was to overhaul the roster, bring in some more future capital for these older players who are not going to fit their timeline of the rebuild, and really tear down the roster, start from scratch, and then hopefully in a few years build a good enough team to contend in the NFC North. But on top of overhauling this roster and completely refining the foundation of the team, the Bears also needed to figure out if Justin Fields was the quarterback of the future and if they're going to invest in him long term. Just 2 years ago, the Bears traded up 9 spots in the first round of the draft with the New York Giants to select Justin Fields with the number 11 overall pick. They traded their 1st and 4th round picks from this past year to go up and make the selection, and at the time this was a pretty surprising pick from the Bears because they did go 8-8. They made the wild card round with Mitch Trubisky, their former 1st round pick. So this move felt like Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace trying to save their job with a new franchise quarterback, but as we know, they were fired the very next season after going 6-11. And I think really any time a young quarterback is drafted into a situation with a different GM and head coach than he has now, I think it's a little bit weird for them to be thrown into this type of situation where they get a new GM, they get a new head coach, different than the ones that drafted them, because they're not tied to Justin Fields. Their resume does not have drafted Justin Fields on it, and they're really not going to be judged on Justin Fields unless they keep him and he doesn't work out. So on one side, Fields is a little bit uneasy because these new guys that have come into the organization didn't draft him, they have no ties to him anymore. And on the other side, the Bears' new organization has to figure out what's best for their job security long term as well as the team's success. And so now being in a rebuild and now getting the number 1 overall pick, the Bears have to decide if they want to keep Justin Fields or move along with a new quarterback where the GM and head coach have major say in who that will be. And this topic of discussion has really become one of the more popular debates in the NFL world right now, whether the Bears should keep Justin Fields or draft a quarterback with the number 1 overall pick such as Bryce Young. On a lot of popular shows including ESPN Get Up, there's been multiple people now that have come on the show and said that the Bears should move on from Fields and draft a new quarterback. Todd McShay went on and said Bryce Young is an upgrade over Justin Fields and that's who the Bears should draft number 1 overall. A former GM for the Jets and the Dolphins came on the show and also said that the Bears would be better off trading Justin Fields and drafting Bryce Young. He said Bryce Young's ceiling is way higher than Justin Fields. I think Bryce Young has a chance to be a great player. I think Justin Fields has a chance to be a good player. And other popular media heads such as RG3 or Louis Riddick are on the complete other side of that argument and do not think the Bears should even consider trading Justin Fields away. Even the son of legendary Bears running back Walter Payton chimed in on the debate, saying it annoys me. I'll be honest with you, it really annoys me. I'm a huge Justin Fields believer. This was before he came to Chicago, so I've been a fan and I've watched him since high school. He's impressed me at every single level with what he's been able to do. Just imagine if you do find a way to get that offensive line right, skill position players, give another wide receiver to team up with Mooney. You got to pick the poison the way you're going to defend the Bears if you can do that, because he doesn't have to take it 60 yards. So he agrees with RG3 and Louis Riddick, where if you get Justin Fields some help, he won't solely have to rely on his legs to make plays, and his improvement will be through the roof. And I do think we saw improvement from Fields this year, just his 2nd year being in the NFL and getting a competent coaching staff. His 1st year, he only completed 59% of his passes for 1,800 yards, 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and a 73.2 rating. And he only had 420 rush yards and 2 touchdowns, but you could really tell that the offense was not tailored to his abilities as a rookie. But he came back his 2nd year, the Bears built an offense around him, and I definitely think we saw his improvement this year. I do remember the start of the year though, the Bears were facing a lot of criticism because Fields was still not in an offense where he fit really well into. They were asking him to be a drop back passer, they weren't using his athleticism and his ability to run a whole lot. But as the season progressed, we saw them incorporate that more and more, and we saw Fields' numbers and his play skyrocket. His final numbers on the year was a 60% completion percentage, 2,200 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions for an 85.2 9.2 rating. You combine that with 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns on the ground, and you can definitely see the improvement from Fields from year 1 to year number 2. So in my opinion, I think Fields emerged as the most dynamic quarterback in the league this past year. It seemed like every game he had a 50+ yard touchdown run, and it was really fun to watch throughout the year. His speed, his elusiveness, his ability to make plays off script, I don't think a lot of quarterbacks in the league can consistently do. And his play this year almost reminded me of a young Lamar Jackson, who was really electric with his legs, slightly raw as a passer, needs to improve in that area of his game, but he does have the tools and the talent to be a good passer as well. And I think that's the point that a lot of people bring up in favor of moving on from Justin Fields, is his ability as a passer. The non-Fields believers don't think that he can develop into a good enough passer to be a top echelon quarterback, but in my opinion, I disagree with that take, because I think that we have seen a lot of quarterbacks, especially in the recent years, improve as passers when they've come into the league pretty raw in that area of their game. For example, I already mentioned Lamar Jackson. He's definitely improved since he entered the league as a passer. Josh Allen is another key example. He was barely completing over 50% of his passes, and now he's one of the best quarterbacks we have in the league. Jalen Hurts is the new phenomenon. There was a lot of questions about him being able to be a consistent passer in the NFL, and then this past year, he was almost the MVP. He put together a really nice performance in the Super Bowl. So if these quarterbacks really want to improve themselves as passers, I really do think that they can, which is a perfect segue to my next point, which is the Bears must surround Justin Fields with a lot of talent this offseason if they want to see him continue to grow and improve as a player. I think any quarterback, and especially a young quarterback that's not refined as a passer, is going to have trouble throwing to the weapons that Justin Fields had to throw to this past year. I mean, towards the end of the year when Darnell Mooney got hurt, he was throwing the ball to Chase Claypool, Equanimeous St. Brown, and Byron Pringle. Those are not good weapons, and you're not going to get really good production out of your quarterback with those players out wide. But where I do want to give the Bears a little bit of credit for this past year was going out and getting Chase Claypool from the Steelers for a second-round pick. I do think that was a slight overpay for Claypool, but I do applaud the Bears for going out and getting Justin Fields some help, especially during the season. So you combine that weak wide receiver core with one of the worst offensive lines in the league, and you're not setting up your quarterback for a recipe for success. But luckily for Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears, they have a ton of resources this offseason to get some things done to help him out. Starting with the number 1 overall pick, I think they should trade down from that spot, preferably number 4 with the Indianapolis Colts, get some more future assets to help out the team. And then still at number 4, you're probably going to get one of the best defenders left in the draft, whether that's Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. So hopefully a team like the Colts wants to jump ahead of the Texans to select the first quarterback off the board. But even before the draft, the Bears have by far the most cap space in the league with a ridiculous $118 million of cap space. The next closest team is the Atlanta Falcons with only $69 million in cap space. So the Bears almost have double the amount of money as the next closest team. So they're going to be making a lot of huge splashes this offseason. And I think in free agency, they should spend a lot of their money on the trenches, whether that's offensive line or defensive line or both. They got pushed around a lot on both of those units this past year, so I think that's definitely a huge issue that they need to address going into next season. Luckily, there are a lot of key candidates that they could get to help out both of those trench units. Daron Payne from the Washington Commanders, Javon Hargrave from the Philadelphia Eagles. Orlando Brown could be their next left tackle if the Chiefs cannot come to an extension with him. Marcus Davenport could hit the open market as well, along with Jawan Taylor from the Jacksonville Jaguars. So there's going to be a lot of really good trench players on the market this year, and I think that the Bears definitely need to go out and sign at least 2, 3, or 4 of them. And then in the draft, use the first pick on the best player available, whether that's Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. And then use the rest of your picks getting skill position players to help out Justin Fields, whether that's another running back, a couple of wide receivers, maybe even a tight end. This is a really good tight end class. And if the Bears do both of those things this offseason and continue to build the offense around Justin Fields, I definitely think we're going to see a huge jump again in year number 3. But in the end, I think Fields has shown enough where you can have faith in him to develop into a really nice starting quarterback. He's got good arm strength, he's got good size, he's got great athleticism and ability to go off script. There's no doubt there's still things that he needs to work on, but he's got a good work ethic, and I think he can definitely improve as a passer if you get him some more help on the outside with wide receivers and build him an offensive line. But if I'm the Bears, I'm keeping Justin Fields, I'm building around him and hoping that he develops like a Josh Allen or a Jalen Hurts and emerges as one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it. Let me know what you think of Justin Fields and if you would keep him and build around him, or if you would draft a quarterback with the number 1 overall pick if you were the Chicago Bears. But anyway, thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.